So good afternoon, everybody. We're just going to give it a minute or two to let a couple other individuals jump on the call. If you have any questions, um, there is a chat function, um, and we can see those. Um, so feel free to type in any questions that you have. At the end of the session, we'll go through them. So we do have a good number of attendees here in the room, so we'll get this started. I am Paul Peary, the Town of Whitby Senior Manager of Economic Development. I'm pleased to welcome you to our first Whitby Business webinar. This is a new series that we've launched, and it's been launched to help strengthen the local economy. Today's meeting is on commercial energy efficiency programs, but upcoming sessions will focus on a wide range of topics from starting a business in Whitby to business succession models and everything in between. If you have any ideas on sessions, please let us know, and we'd be happy to incorporate them into a future webinar planning. With that said, we'll jump into the presentation. I'm pleased to be joined by Andrea Serrano, who serves as an energy solution advisor for Enbridge's commercial customers, primarily working with school boards and municipalities within the Greater Toronto Area. With a focus on reducing natural gas consumption and enhancing operational efficiencies, Andreas is committed to implementing sustainable energy solutions that benefit both the environment and the bottom line. Leveraging expertise in energy efficient processes and technologies, Andreas offers tailored support and incentives to empower organizations on their journey towards a more sustainable future. So with that, Andreas, welcome, and let's get into the presentation.
Sorry, Andreas, you're on mute.
Thank you, Paul, for the introduction, and thank you to the Town of Whitby for inviting us, and thank you all for joining us. This webinar will be available online in case you need to reference back to the material, or if you know anyone who might be interested in the program that couldn't join us today. Hopefully, by the end of this presentation, you will reach out to Enbridge Gas if you are looking to take on energy efficiency measures for your business. This presentation will be more targeted towards our commercial customers, but if you are interested in the residential or industrial program, please feel free to visit our website. We have a ton of information on there for you to read, and there's some emails on there that you can use to contact the advisors for those programs. And if there's one thing to keep in mind throughout this presentation is that our services are complimentary and free. So if you do decide to pursue an application, but then you decide not to take on the project, don't worry about it. There is no cost to you. So with that being said, I'll just jump into the presentation now. So starting off with the agenda, I'll first be providing a brief overview on Enbridge Gas. including ways we are working as a company towards a net zero future. I will then go into the commercial energy efficiency programs that Enbridge Gas offers, including some of the special offers we have this year. Afterwards, I will more or less give you a step-by-step process on what happens when you do reach out to Enbridge Gas for an application, and then I will end it off with some examples. There will be a quick Q&A at the end if you do have any questions, so just please hold off until then. Okay, so Enbridge Gas Inc. is North America's largest gas utility by volume and third largest by customer count. We deliver affordable, reliable energy to approximately 3.9 million residential, commercial, and industrial customers in 313 Ontario municipalities and more than 20 First Nation communities, and have been doing so for the last 175 years. Enbridge Gas is innovating and adapting our business model to accelerate the transition to a net zero emission future in Ontario. We are focusing our efforts in three main areas, using less gas through conservation, and that's why we do have programs for our residential, commercial, and industrial customers. The second one is transitioning to renewable gases, such as RNG and hydrogen. And the last one is advancing clean technologies for transportation, building heat, and industrial processes, such as CNG, which is compressed natural gas, and renewable natural gas, hybrid heating, geothermal, and carbon capture. At Enbridge Gas, we also have a net zero goal for our operations by 2050. As our climate changes, committing to a clean energy future is the right thing to do, and that includes transitioning to sustainable forms of energy. It is our responsibility to pursue an informed path that minimizes costs for energy consumers and ensures energy systems are safe, dependable, and resilient. Most of Ontario's energy emissions are generated from vehicles, heating buildings, and producing the goods we use every day. Transitioning these sectors to sustainable energy sources is a key and necessary part of a net zero future. So to help us better understand this complex issue, Enbridge engaged experts at Guidehouse to undertake a deep dive into Ontario's energy landscape and evaluate the feasibility of alternate paths to net zero. The study explored a diversified pathway, which includes end-use electrification used in balance with low and zero carbon capture. And the study also explored a complete electrification pathway, which includes deep electrification of all sectors with low and zero carbon gases and carbon capture used only when no reasonable alternative energy sources exist. For each, the study assessed the overall feasibility based on cost, GHG reductions, system dependability, and resiliency. In brief, the Pathways to Net Zero study finds that reaching net zero energy-related emissions in Ontario by 2050 is definitely possible, and that targeting the three largest sources of GHG emissions from transportation, building heat, and industrial processes is possible through a diversified pathway that uses both electricity and gas systems, and which can achieve net zero emissions at the lowest cost for consumers. This practical path includes targeted end-use electrification of light-duty vehicles, building heat, and low-temperature industrial processes paired with adoption of low-carbon gases, including RNG, hydrogen, and natural gas with carbon capture. At Enbridge, we've been focused on the transition to net zero for some time. Across our businesses, we've committed to achieving net zero GHG emissions in our own operations. And we have the scope, scale, and expertise to advance sustainable energy solutions that can accelerate Ontario's transition to a net zero energy future. We're innovating, investing in new lines of businesses and sustainable program offerings in 3 areas: conservation, renewable gases, and clean energy technologies. For this webinar, I will be focusing on the conservation portion. Again, if you want more information on our renewable gases or clean energy technologies, you'll find all that information on our website. So Enbridge has been helping homes and businesses use less energy through conservation, and this is the least costly way to reduce your emissions. Enbridge is recognized as an industry leader in energy conservation programs for residential, commercial, and industrial customers. Getting to net zero is rarely a one-step change. Instead, it is often a long-term journey involving a phased approach. This is important from an economic feasibility and energy dependability perspective. What we mean by this is that energy conservation should be top of mind before we make the switch to electricity. By lowering the energy demand on your facilities now, when the time does come to switch, it will be a lot less expensive and you would minimize your impact on the electrical grid when you do make that switch. Enbridge Gas has been conserving energy since 1995, and we have given out over $228 million in incentives to commercial and industrial businesses since 1995. In the commercial sector alone, we have enabled 8.9 billion lifetime cubic meters of natural gas saved, resulting in 16.8 million tons of GHG emission reductions, which is an equivalent to removing 3.6 million cars off the road for 1 year. So with all that said, I will now get into our energy efficiency program. So we'll work with you year-round to understand your unique business needs and set goals for you to save. We will identify and prioritize energy efficiency projects for you, and we will calculate estimated gas savings on all energy sources to help you build your business case. We can provide technical support for new technologies and processes as well. We will also help determine eligibility for financial incentives that will help speed up your payback. And we will ensure that the incentive application is an easy process for you. The great thing about our program is that we have internal and external auditing in place, so you can trust the gas savings that we estimate for you. We are also agnostic when it comes to which contractor or equipment you choose to go with. So you don't have to worry about any biases. When you do come to us, we put the customer first above all else. And the great thing is at the end of the process, you will receive a one-time incentive check for implementing energy efficiency measures. So why work with us? Well, first, we offer funding for audits and site visits to help identify opportunities. You can also come to us for technical support and expertise, providing you with gas savings. We offer incentives that will help your business case. And the last thing is we take care of the incentive application for you and most of the paperwork. I hear a lot from our customers that do participate in our program that we do make it very easy compared to the other incentive programs that are out there. So going more into the program, especially the commercial incentive program, the commercial incentive program offers fixed incentives, incentives for audits and studies, and custom incentives. And I'll get more into detail later on what each one means. But for now, just be aware that we can look at both new construction and also retrofits. So fixed incentives, we can definitely apply for new construction, but for incentives for audits and studies and custom incentives, those are typically geared for retrofit type projects. So now I'll get into the fixed incentive offers. So the fixed incentive offer covers 9 different technology types. 9 different energy efficiency technologies, from air curtains to dock door seals and ozone laundry. The amount of incentive is based on the specifications of the energy efficiency technology you do decide to pursue. And this incentive is really easy to apply for. The best way to look at it is like a coupon. Once we confirm installation, we will send you a check for the quoted amount. So this is our standard offer, and it is available year-round. So every year, we do have some form of special offers, or what we call limited time bonus offers. And this year we have bonus offers for ozone laundry, destratification fans, and multi-install demand control ventilation projects. Before I get into the details, there are a few deadlines we have to be cognizant of for these bonus offers. Primarily that the equipment must be purchased between January 1st, 2024 to September 30th, 2024. And the equipment must be installed and paperwork submitted to Enbridge Gas by October 31st, 2024. So definitely, if you are looking to take advantage of any of these special offers, reach out to us as soon as possible. And the email is there for you to refer back to, but you also find the email at the very end of the presentation. Just to give you a few more details, this is the ozone laundry LTO. The ozone laundry works by injecting ozone into the washing water. When the ozone water comes into contact with organic materials in your laundry, it destroys them, and that includes bacteria, viruses, mold, or other microorganisms. This will essentially allow you to run your laundry with cold water, thus reducing the amount of gas you need to heat your water for a hot water cycle. We normally offer 4 cents per pound of laundry to a maximum of $15,000 per system. But for the bonus offer, we are offering 5 cents per pound of laundry to a maximum of $17,000 per system. I've processed some of these applications and I've seen a payback of 2 to 3 years. So this is a really attractive offer. And again, like this is mostly for commercial customers. Commercial applications. So if you are you have a long-term care home and you have a laundry on site, or if you're a business that has a laundry business that is running off of natural gas, this is definitely something that you can look into and take advantage of. The next offer is the destratification fans LTO. To give you a little bit of background, destratification fans work by continuously circulating air from the ceiling to the floor, mixing destratified air to create a comfortable environment for your business. These fans help to balance the temperature of the air so that you don't have to overheat or overcool the room to maintain comfort. We normally offer $1,000 per unit for destratification fans that have a diameter of 20 feet or greater. But for this year, we are offering 4 times the amount. So we are offering $4,000 for destratification fans that are larger than 20 feet in diameter. And the last special offer under our fixed incentive is the DCKV multi-install limited time bonus offer. So just to give you a bit of background on what a DCKV is, we typically see exhaust fans in commercial kitchens operating on an on-off basis. The air that is being exhausted typically is replaced with fresh and heated air during the winter months. This is seen as a huge waste of energy, especially when the exhaust fan is on while no one is really cooking. So a DCKV will detect cooking byproducts and send the information to a DCKV processor to adjust the exhaust flow accordingly, reducing the amount of fresh air that is heated and the amount of fresh air that is wasted when the exhaust fan is just running. So as you can see from the table in front of you, we offer this for both retrofit and new construction. We have two tiers. We have a tier A and tier B. So the more units you install, the more, the more bonus offer you receive. So in addition to the standard offering that we have for DCKVs, you will receive an additional $1,000 if you install 2 to 4 units. If you install 5 units, you will receive $3,000 in addition to the standard offering for every unit that you install. This is really great for any companies that have multiple restaurants or have franchises across Ontario. So definitely look into this if you are looking to decrease your natural gas use and looking to get some money back from Enbridge Gas. That more or less wraps up the fixed incentive offer. So now I'll just jump into the custom incentive offer. So the custom incentive offer offers funding for energy assessments. This will help you with the cost of any studies you are looking to take on. And some examples include HVAC control audits, facility air balances, benchmarking activities, thermal surveys, and steam trap audits. Your facility does have to at least consume 100,000 cubic meters of natural gas to be considered for the energy assessment incentives. And the pool of funds is limited, so please reach out to us as soon as possible for consideration. And our custom offer also offers incentives for energy efficiency measures that were not on the list of equipment for fixed incentives in the previous slides. So I guess the best way to look at a custom incentive offer is if we can estimate a gas savings due to an upgrade of some sort, we can offer 25 cents per cubic meter of natural gas saved. Some examples of a custom incentive offer project is waste heat recovery, boiler upgrades, building automation systems, and ventilation controls, and variable frequency drives. So similar to our special offers for fixed incentives, we also have special offers for our custom incentives. But before I get into it, I would like to first discuss Amendment 15. So Amendment 15 is a directive passed by the Government of Canada. So starting in 2025, manufactured commercial boilers between 300,000 and 10 million BTUs per hour must have a thermal / combustion efficiency of 90%. So that means that starting in 2025, the only boiler retrofit option for most commercial buildings will be a condensing boiler. So if you are considering a boiler retrofit and condensing boilers are not the first choice of equipment, then this may be the last year to install a high efficiency boiler. So on the custom side, we are calling these the early bird bonus incentives, which ends June 30th. So there's still time to take advantage of this offer. Definitely don't miss out. We are offering double the incentives for boiler and control upgrades this year, which is our first time that we are doing this actually. So reach out to your energy solutions advisor before June 30th so that we can open up an application for you and lock you in for the enhanced rate. So for condensing boilers and control upgrades, we are offering 50 cents per cubic meter of natural gas saved. And for high efficiency boilers, which we consider between 85 and 89%, we are offering 30 cents per cubic meter of natural gas saved. This next slide more or less summarizes the previous slide. But like I mentioned before, definitely you must commit by June 30th and you must have the boiler in service by October 31st. These dates are typically not that difficult to follow. Definitely, if you do start a boiler replacement this year, it's likely that it will be installed before the start of this year's heating season, which is normally around October, November. So I wouldn't worry too much about the dates. And I do want to briefly touch on some of the eligible control projects that we typically look at. But again, it's not limited to these. So long as we are able to estimate a gas savings, we can provide you with an incentive. But anyways, some examples include boiler controls, building automation system upgrades, variable frequency drive installations, and variable air volume. All right, so this is our last, I guess, special offer under our custom incentive offer. This one's really exciting because it is a first of its kind for us, at least. So we currently have a limited time offer incentive for hybrid rooftop units for dual fuel rooftop units purchased between October 2nd, 2023 and March 31st, 2024. If you are interested in knowing more about this offer, please reach out to us as soon as possible, and we can talk about the terms and conditions to qualify you for this incentive. So like I mentioned before, this is the first year we are offering this incentive, and it is our way of supporting our customers who are looking at alternative fuel sources. So this offer covers hybrid rooftop units that are packaged with an air-sourced heat pump with a gas furnace backup. This allows the customer to use electricity for their heating needs during the shoulder season and warmer days, and use gas heating during the coldest days of the winter. As you can see from the chart, we do base this incentive on the cooling capacity of the rooftop units, but you can receive up to $10,000 per unit if they are larger than 16 tons or over. That more or less wraps up the custom incentive offer. And I know this is a lot to take in, but the great thing is that all it takes is for you to email us and you will receive assistance from a qualified advisor that will help you to maximize your gas savings and maximize the incentives that you can get from our program. So just to wrap things up before I get into the case studies or examples, just remember that conservation should be top of mind before we start looking at electrification. Electrification is definitely one way to get to net zero, but it can be cost prohibitive on both the capital and operating fronts. Energy conservation is an integral part of a phased approach to net zero, allowing you to reduce your GHG emissions now and save on operating costs. In addition to energy efficiency incentives, Enbridge also offers solutions to renewable gas and clean energy technologies, which may be part of your plan to net zero. One thing I should mention as well is that for you to reach out to us as early as possible in your planning. The Ontario Energy Board mandates that energy efficiency programming drive incremental action versus us funding projects that would have happened regardless in its absence. So what this means is that if you do contact us late or you've already made up your mind to proceed with a project, we won't be able to provide incentives for that project. We do need to show, Enbridge Gas does need to show influence on a project. So definitely that's why it's important for you to reach out to us as soon as possible. Also, if you decide to go ahead with an option that is otherwise economically unjustifiable because of organizational mandates or other reasons, energy efficiency incentives will unfortunately not apply. So we typically see that with our customers that are looking to do full electrification switch, and that tends to be really cost prohibitive when we do look at the the gas savings and we compare it to the additional electrical consumption from that switch. So those projects are typically hard for us to support. But we are trying our best to find unique ways to support those types of projects. So yeah, this slide shows you more or less the steps that you will experience when you do participate in our program. The first step being the scoping/quote stage. And when I say quote stage, I mean the incentive or the quote that we give you based on our incentive. So definitely contact your energy solutions advisor in the project planning process to receive an incentive quote and pre-qualify your project. The next step is the purchase order stage. So at this point, we have more or less the information we need to dial in on the gas savings. So at this stage, you would provide Enbridge Gas with a technical input sheet that has all the required details to calculate a more accurate incentive amount. The next stage is the equipment commissioning. This is more or less wraps up the process, and just make sure your equipment is installed and commissioned by October 31st and provide that update to your energy solutions advisor so that they can process the application for you and submit it on your behalf. The last stage is the incentive payment. And once the application has been submitted and reviewed and approved, it usually takes 4 to 6 weeks to receive your incentive. Then you can also request if you want to receive it by mail or if you want an in-person drop-off. So I know, like I mentioned before, that's a lot to take in, but we'll have a Q&A at the end. I did see a question pop up related to the rooftop units, I think. But yes, yes, you are right, Amy. The RTU incentive is coming soon. So we can definitely talk about, I guess, some type of flexibility that we have around those dates. But for sure, reach out to us, I would say by today. This way we can get you locked in for that RTU incentive. Okay, so now I will go through some case studies or examples that you can use when you're considering an energy efficiency upgrade. Oh, Sarah, I'll answer your questions at the end. Yeah. Sorry. So I have 10 minutes, so I'll get through this quickly. But our first case study is on an HVAC upgrade at a fitness center. So this is with Movati, and this was a new building that is 70,000 square feet in Windsor, Ontario. An Enbridge gas energy advisor worked with Movati to help identify and add high efficiency equipment to the building. The results were that there was an improved comfort, a lower energy cost, and carbon footprint. The facility had the following upgrades. They added air curtains to keep guests comfortable at entrances. They added heat and energy recovery ventilators to reduce humidity near the pools. And they also added demand control ventilation sensors to automatically adjust ventilation rates based on occupancy and save energy during off hours or when the facility was unoccupied. So Enbridge Gas provided $25,000 in incentive, and Movati was able to see a savings of $18,000 per year on their gas bill. And this was this equated to a equivalent CO2 reduction of 115 tons per year. The next case study is a boiler retrofit at a community center. Just as an FYI, boiler retrofits are probably the most popular or most common custom incentive offer that we do see come to us. So we are very experienced in these types of projects. And like I said, starting in 2025, the minimum efficiency will be increasing to 90%. And because of that increase, it is likely that we will only be offering a smaller incentive amount. Because now that the minimum efficiency is 90%, we have a much smaller delta between your existing efficiency and your new efficiency to incentivize. But with that being said, let's get into this case study. So this project was a community center of approximately 48,000 square feet. It included 1 indoor ice rink, 2 multi-purpose room, and 1 indoor track. And the existing equipment was 2 atmospheric boilers, 2 air handling units, and 1 rooftop unit. The equipment was controlled already by building automation system. And in this case, the boilers have reached their end of life and need to be replaced. So what are some of the elements of consideration? Well, first, the customer could have either gone for a like-for-like replacement, a high efficiency option, or a condensing option. The customer could have also looked at any control upgrades, temperature setbacks, and boiler pumping sequence improvements. With all that said, anytime you take on an additional upgrade, it does make the cost of the project slightly more expensive. So some things to consider as well is also the cost and also the incentives that Enbridge Gas offers. So the building consumed approximately 124,000 cubic meters per year. And through our energy modeling, we've estimated that space heating consumes 74,000, domestic hot water and ice rink flooding consumes 20,000, and the makeup air / rooftop unit consumed 30,000 cubic meters of natural gas per year. So the customer in this case decided to upgrade to 2 condensing boilers with a 95% efficiency with the help of Enbridge Gas incentives. They also added setbacks, controls, and pumping strategies. And by doing so, they reduced or they saw an annual gas savings of 23%, which is equivalent to 29,000 cubic meters of natural gas per year. This is more or less a breakdown between space heating and non-seasonal. But you'll see here that had the customer just gone for a like-for-like replacement, the project would have costed them $27,000, but they wouldn't have received Enbridge gas incentive. They would have not seen any gas savings on their bills. But because the customer went with the condensing option, which is a more expensive option, they were able to get back $14,000 in incentives and also save $8,400 per year on their bills. So once we look at a simple payback, we estimated that the condensing option will have a 4-year simple payback. So what this means that after year 4, the customer will start realizing those savings up until the boiler reaches its end of life, which we estimate to be 25 years. And that wraps up that case study. The next case study is a ventilation control upgrade for a garage. This one's a little bit more nuanced, but I will try my best to explain what exactly is going on here. So this was at a surface water treatment plant that had a garage of over 20,000 square feet. The makeup air units and exhaust fans were running at 24/7. And we also saw an imbalance of air between the supply and the exhaust. So essentially, the makeup airs were providing 40,000 CFM, while the exhaust was exhausting 35,000 CFM. This also led to an odor transfer from the garage to the adjacent space because of the imbalance of exhaust and supply air. So same thing, what are some of the elements of consideration? Well, first, as we know, the garage is intermittently occupied and unbalanced. We do know that the garage is not always occupied, so we can definitely see some savings there, especially if it's running 24/7. Another thing to consider is the amount of fresh air that is being pumped into the garage space. Is it too much fresh air? Are there ways to reduce that amount of fresh air while maintaining ASHRAE requirements? The next thing to consider as well is, can we add variable frequency drives to the exhaust and makeup air to modulate based on the occupancy? And also, we can also look at the temperature setbacks. What is the temperature that the air is being heated at? And are there ways to decrease that temperature? So the selected solution in this case was to establish first the existing CFM flow to the makeup air units, devise operational schedule based on building occupancy, calculate the ASHRAE required CFM, and calculate the resulting CFM based on schedule optimization and ASHRAE requirements. So this table here breaks down the makeup air units. And as you can see, once we look at the actual CFM versus the proposed CFM, we see a pretty drastic decrease in output. So we've gone from 39,000 to 20,000, and we've estimated that to have a total CFM reduction of 51%. And because we are reducing the amount of fresh air that is being pumped into the garage space, we are reducing the amount of fresh air that is being heated, thus reducing the amount of gas that is wasted to heat that air. So this more or less outlines or gives you a visualization of what is happening. But this project is actually costed the customer only $101,000. But they received approximately $68,000, which is more or less 65% of the project cost. And from this project, the customer saw a reduction of $41,000 per year in their billing. And we also saw a reduction in electrical savings because you are running those rooftop units less. You are using less electricity on your fans. And because of that, you also get electrical savings. And we estimated this simple payback to be less than 8 months. So this was a great project. And hopefully, we do hope that a lot of the projects we do recommend have a very short payback, because like I mentioned before, it is part of our terms and conditions where the project must be feasible in terms of cost and in terms of gas savings. And the last case study I have here before I wrap up is a BAS upgrade at a secondary school. So this school was built in 2023 with boilers and air handling units operating the same way 24/7, regardless of occupancy. For the most part, schools are occupied probably from 7 a.m. to about 8 p.m. if we do consider after school programs. So there was definitely a lot of waste happening there. So the school board in this case decided to upgrade their building automation system to optimize their heating, ventilation, and pumping schedules. This resulted in better indoor air quality, reduced equipment wear and tear, and lowered the operating and maintenance costs of their equipment. Enbridge Gas provided, in this case, $22,000 in incentives. The school board saw a reduction in their gas bills by $26,000 per year, and they also saw electrical savings of 200,000 kilowatt hours per year. This also had a great simple payback of 1 year, and the customer saw a equivalent CO2 reduction of 160 tons per year. So that wraps up my presentation and this webinar. If you do have any projects coming up or you are considering energy efficiency measures, please reach out to us at energyservices@enbridge.com, or you can call us at 1-866-844-9994. I did see a question from Sarah. For the DCKV, is that for supply or exhaust or both? For us, we only see it for the supply. Typically, the exhaust is linked to the supply, so that's why we only consider one. So I'm not too sure if this answers your question, Sarah, but if you have any additional questions, just feel free to type it in. Are there any other questions? Okay.
Andreas, I don't see any either. We'll give it another minute, but really appreciate you taking the time to meet with our local business community to talk about some potential solutions for them moving forward. In terms of next step, if there are any other questions, we'd be happy to answer them. So please feel free to reach out to Andreas. You can reach out to myself as well, and we can pass along any contact information moving forward. But really appreciate everyone joining us for this meeting today. And thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Paul and Junaid, for having us. And I do want to stress this program is a no commitment program. Reach out to us even if you're not really sure what to do. And if you don't plan to proceed with the project, don't worry about it. We have your information on file, and we can always continue the process in the following year when you are more ready to take on those projects. But yeah, for sure. Thanks everyone for joining us. Bye.